Good morning.
Just going to wait here for confirmation that everyone can hear and see us. See, Eliana is here. Maybe Eliana, you can let us know. Hello, Tatiana. All right, can someone just, okay, perfect. Eliana says yes, you can see us. So good morning, inFlow fam. Brings you another week of webinars. This is a back-to-back week of webinars. We have to reschedule our last one because of some medical stuff. So this week, we've got a very intense topic, exciting topic, especially if you're in manufacturing, but we will be going through everything about pretty much bill of materials and work orders. So we have a lot of people using this who are in the manufacturing realm. We also have customers who use this that aren't inside the manufacturing realm. They actually use it in a cool roundabout way to create kits and bundles type of thing. So Daniela is the work order bill of material master today. I'm just here to co-host as a hype woman. The webinar has a hype man or hype woman on the side, so I'll be helping her out with the chat. So we'll just wait a few minutes for people to come in, but a few things just to start administrative. You have the chats there. Feel free to send us your questions during the webinar in the chat box. We will get to them. If we don't read it immediately, we'll probably just be waiting for a natural pause to answer that, to answer the question. Please, when you do send it, just make sure that your chat is send to everybody. Otherwise, it will show private. It'll come in as a private message. Also, at any point in time, you can always email us as support. I'm sure you're used to some of our names and faces now, but if you just email us, I'll put the email here, support@infloinventory.com. You can also email us that way because I know some questions are a bit intense. So we'll try to get to everybody's questions today. And just to start, I guess I'm going to put Danny on the spot. Danny, we haven't had a webinar from you in a while. So is there any fun fact that you want to share with the team?
Ooh, fun fact. Oh my gosh. Let me try and think about this. Oh, well, fun fact, I went on my first run of the year on the weekend and it went better than expected. So I think it's beginner's luck though. I think if I tried running again, it's not going to go as well, but that's not a great fun fact, but the one that comes to mind right now. So
if there's any runners out there, drop us a line, give some tips, encouragement to Danny. You can do it, Danny.
Need some tips, please, some running tips. How do you keep going? But yeah, no, it was great. It was really nice. Finally in Toronto, we got some decent weather. It's been like a sauna here. But I think on Sunday it got cloudy. It rained a little bit, but it was really good for running. So in the evening. But I know you do some running there, Tameem, as well.
Gone back into the game because of course, the pandemic. So not much you can do besides walk or run outside, I guess. So
yeah, exactly. Although the patios are opening, so it's good.
Yeah,
something to look forward to.
Summertime in Toronto, finally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're just going to wait a few more minutes to start all the content, but we will start. If you guys want to actually just, drop us a line in the chat. Let us know what kind of products that you might be manufacturing, or if you're making any kits, just let us know. It's always great for us to know. Sometimes we can weave it into some of our examples too. You never know. So also great. I see a lot of repeat names, faces in here. Hi, Mary from Stadium Systems. Hope you guys are doing well in Connecticut. Yeah, so let us know. We'll wait like about 30 more seconds, and then I think we can get going just to get some more people in here.
Sounds good. Nice. And thank you, Tameem, for being the hype girl, always the best.
Gotta learn to be a bit hypier, but we'll also take any tips and feedback there. Yeah, let us know. Nobody's dropped us a line on what they're manufacturing or kitting. No problem.
Yeah, let us know.
And we'll go through a few examples either way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think we're good to go. I think we've waited enough. So if anybody joins, and again, this is recorded, and we'll send that email out to you guys after the presentation as well. So for anybody who's wondering, we got it coming. Oh, Peter, good job running.
Thank you.
Suggest finding a running club.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, let's get started then.
And I will, sorry, I just mentioned, Rosemary did say they manufacture tire recycling equipment. So they're using a lot of nuts and bolts and proprietary blades. Joe, they are kitting telephone hardware. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Sophie says medical devices. Neil says produce telescope mounts. So that's
Very cool.
Wow,
Wow, that's really neat.
Some input for you, Danny, as we start. So I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so that sounds really cool. Like everything you guys are manufacturing sounds complicated, and maybe it isn't. But let's get started today. It's going to be a little bit simple, but I think we'll go over a workflow that's a little bit on the simple side, but it'll hopefully illustrate how the bill of materials and work order features work in inFlow, which are the manufacturing features in inFlow. So today's topics, just briefly, we're going to start off with creating the bill of materials. We'll then go into creating a work order, building sub-assemblies, and then we'll go into an example workflow. And finally, we'll talk about the reports that are available that are related to manufacturing. Okay, so let's start off with basically what the manufacturing features are in inFlow. They're the bill of materials and the work order features. So these two features in inFlow are used to track the components or the raw materials that are used to build finished products. So if you're manufacturing and you'd like to keep track of the raw materials that get consumed when you're building your finished products or your machines or your kits, you'll be using the bill of materials and the work order features in inFlow. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So we'll start off first with talking about the bill of materials. And I'm assuming some of you have already had experience with building the bill of materials. If you have, hopefully you'll learn maybe a few tips and tricks during our presentation today. But yes, just to get started, the bill of materials, here you'll see it's usually shortened to BOM, B-O-M, in a lot of our KB articles. You can think of it as a recipe for your kit or your finished product. So it's going to include all of the components that are required to build the end product. So inFlow is going to use this bill of materials as a blueprint when creating work orders. So we're going to go over the bill of materials. I'm going to show you how you can build them, and we're also going to go into the work orders, so it'll all make sense by the end of this presentation. But the important part here is to really understand the bill of materials is like a recipe. So I'll use an example. If you think of a chef in a bakery, the bill of materials is the recipe, and then the chef himself or herself is the work order. So the chef is going to be following the recipe and removing ingredients from the fridge and adding it to the bowl. So really the bill of materials is the recipe, and it's the chef that's the work order in inFlow. If we're going to use that example. So let's go ahead and get started with our bill of materials. Like I said, I'm going to use a very, very simple example of a finished product, but from what I have read from the chats, your finished products probably have many, many components, maybe thousands, and probably are made up of several sub-assemblies as well, which we'll go through, but just know that this is very simple, but you can definitely scale this up to thousands of components, maybe even hundreds of sub-assemblies, but just to hone that idea that you can do this in inFlow, we're going to use a very simple approach, and we're going to build a puppy starter kit. So a puppy starter kit, this is what I've made up. It's got 4 components that go into this kit. It's a puppy food sample, teething chew toy, watermelon toy plushie, and a box. And you might be wondering why I chose a puppy starter kit. Well, another fun fact is that we recently got a puppy, and I had to use this opportunity to include her in the presentation. This is Pixel, or Pixie for short. She's a little dachshund puppy. There she is. She's tiny. She's 8 weeks right now. And yeah, she's awesome. So I figured I'm going to include her in this presentation.
A puppy picture never goes the wrong way. So
right, yeah. That's what I figured.
Doesn't take away from
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So gotta put some cuteness in there. But yeah, so let's go into a demo of actually building out this puppy starter kit, and not building, but creating that recipe for it. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to my screen sharing. Okay, so you should be able to see my inFlow right now. And we're going to get started with putting together this puppy starter kit. And the very first step when creating a finished product in inFlow is to actually add all of your products into the system. So what I mean by that, I'm going to go ahead and just, I've categorized my products. So just to make it really clear, I'm going to just show you our puppy starter kit products that are categorized in the puppy starter kit. As I mentioned in my bill of materials slide, it's made out of 4 components. You're going to see that I've got 5 products here, not 4. So I've created a product record for each of my component items as well as my finished product. So I've got a box created in inFlow. I've got the puppy food samples, all the way down to the actual puppy starter kit. So the puppy starter kit is going to get its own product record as well. Because ideally we want to keep track of our components that get used up as well as our finished product. So we need to keep stock of both of them. So we need a product record for both the finished product and the components. So once you've got your products in inFlow, there's the next step is to actually build out the bill of materials for your finished product. So I'm in my finished product right now, so it's the puppy starter kit. You'll notice along the bottom you've got those tabs. You'll go to the bill of materials tab, and this is the screen where you're going to be telling inFlow what the recipe is or what components go into this finished product. So we'll see that table here listed out. There we go. And this is where you're going to start adding your finished product. So you can just click into that first cell, and I'm just going to make it easy for myself, and I'm going to filter out my products. So this is the advanced search. If anyone's wondering, you can filter out your product picker list. So here we go, puppy starter kit. So these are all of my puppy starter components. I'm going to start adding them to my bill of materials. So just one by one. We've got the teething chew toy, and we've got the watermelon plushie. All right, so there's a few things to note here. We've got the quantity column. So this is where you're going to tell inFlow how many of each components are going to go into the finished product. So I've got my puppy food sample. In this puppy kit, there's actually going to be 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and change that to 3. And then also you're going to find the cost column. So this cost is getting pulled from the product record for your components. So you'll notice here that I've got 0 for my box. So this is a common error where we'll have users reach out to us and ask us why the components of the bill of materials are showing up with 0 cost. So the reason for that is that there likely is no cost associated with that component item. So you'll want to do that first. So let's go ahead and open up our box product record. There we go. So yes, indeed, we have no costs associated with this product yet. So I'm going to go ahead and change that, update it. So we got it to 50 cents. All right, and we'll also notice we've got 0 in stock. This will come into play later, but let's go ahead and save that for now. Okay, let's close that and back to our puppy starter kit. Okay, so great. So it's updated now. So now we've got all of the costs in for our component items. So again, before you start building your bill of materials for your finished product, you're going to want to make sure that your product details, including costs are in for your components. And the reason for that is I know our thumbnails are kind of blocking a little section here that's a little bit important. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that. Oh, nope. Sorry, just a moment there. Okay, just for now. All right, so yes, so right here, the total cost. So you'll see here that inFlow has estimated what the total cost of your finished product's going to be based on the cost of your component items. Here's a tip for people who, for users who've already probably built these bill of materials before, but if you click into the total cost, you're also going to get an estimate of what the retail price would be for this finished product. If going by the retail price of the component items. So if you're ever wondering, oh, well, what should my finished product be priced at? You might want to consider looking into this estimate here, and inFlow is going to give you that estimate. So it's estimating that my puppy kit should cost about $13.30. Of course, you might be giving your customers a deal if they're buying a kit or a finished product. So you don't have to set your retail price of your finished product to this price. But if you did want to, you could always hover over that price and then click on set normal price to $13.30. You can also just manually change the retail price as well if it's not going to be that price. So let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so perfect. So we've saved our bill of materials. This is our recipe. We've pretty much done the first step here. There's a few other things you might notice. If you're using inFlow Cloud, you're going to get this little button here that says, how many can I build? So this button here is going to help you estimate how many of your finished product you can build based on your stock available of your component items. So if I press this right now, let's check that out. So I can manufacture 0. And the reason for that is, if you remember, I've got 0 boxes in stock, so I actually I don't have enough components in order to manufacture my puppy starter kit. So from here, you can go ahead and actually create that work order to start building that finished product. But there's several ways that we can start, or rather build that work order. So we'll return back to that. But this is essentially the bill of materials and how you can build out that recipe. Are there any questions so far about the bill of materials?
So far, we have no questions, but please do let us know if you do have anything. I know this is kind of a kidding situation, but it's pretty much the exact same if you're actually manufacturing a finished product instead of a kit. Just like the bicycle is the one we often use, but let us know if there's any questions here before we get a little bit more detailed.
That's right. So all of this will still apply. So if you're just building a finished product, if you've got machines, you're going to be putting in your part numbers in here instead. But it's all the same steps. So I'm just going to switch over back to that presentation.
Okay, and Robert actually just had a question: how do you account for labor to build?
Good question. So we're gonna answer that in our work order. So there's going to be a specific field for that, and hopefully I don't forget it. But if I do, please ask that question again. But it will be in the work order section as well. If you do have services, for example, if there's a finished product that requires a very specific service like engraving, so it always has that service, you might consider creating a product called engraving and set it to the service type so that you can add that item to the bill of materials of that finished product. So if that product gets engraving all the time and you'd like for it to be part of the of the recipe, then you can add that to the bill of materials. But there's another separate field for recording non-material costs or labor costs, for example. Okay, so that was the first step. So now that we've built out our recipe, we're now actually going to go into the work order section. So like I said, the bill of materials is really just a blueprint. The work order is what does the work of building the kit or the finished product. So it's through the work order that your components are going to get consumed and your finished product is going to get added to your stock. So again, just using that kitchen example, we have a chef. He's the work order, or she's the work order, and she's following the recipe, which is the bill of materials, and she's the one that's actually removing ingredients, taking eggs, putting them in the bowl, and taking them off the shelf in that sense. So that's going to be the work order. Eventually, the chef is going to bake a cake and take that finished product and put it back onto the bakery shelves. So it's really the work order that's doing the work here. So that's an important distinction. So let's go ahead back into the demo.
And then Danny, as you go into the work order bit, Liz also had a question, just if you can show it there. The work orders is how do you add something that isn't stocked product into the work order. So just something to think about. I'll reinterrupt you later as well, but something to think about before you go to work orders.
Sounds good. Okay, that's a great question. Okay, so we've got our bill of materials. Now we're going to go into the work order because we're ready to build our finished product. So as I mentioned, there's several ways to get to the work order screen. You can manufacture a finished product directly from the bill of materials. So while you're in the bill of materials tab, you can click on the manufacture button to manufacture one by default, but if I were able to manufacture, let's say I had enough in stock to manufacture 10, this button would be yellow and it would tell me that I can manufacture 10, and I could click on it and it would automatically create a work order for 10 of my items. I'm just going to go ahead and change our thumbnails very quickly. So there we go, so that it's not blocking another key feature, which is our main menu. So that's the other way that you can get to the work order. You click on the main menu, go to the inventory tab, and then work order. And then the last way that you can get to the work order, or one of the last ways, you'll see there's one other sneaky way you can get to the work order. And by sneaky, I mean helpful. Way you can get to the work order screen is from the home page. You'll hover over the inventory symbol there, and then you'll go to work order. So that's going to open up the work order screen. So there's a lot to take in here, but let's start off just at the top here. You'll have the assembled by field. So if there's a specific team member that is assembling this work order, you might want to note that down. It's optional. You don't have to. Then you'll have the location field. This one's important. So this location field is what's going to tell inFlow which location to pull inventory from. So if you've got several locations in your inventory and you want inFlow to be pulling from a specific location, you're going to click into the drop down and select that location. I only have one. I've got default location in my inventory. So by default, it will pull from there. As well, if you keep it blank, it's going to pull from the default location. And then it's this other costs field. So this is the field where you can input labor costs or any costs that aren't associated with the components themselves. So you can add the costs in there, and this is going to contribute to the cost of the finished product. So it will affect the cost of the finished product. inFlow looks at this field as well. All right, so now we've got the work order and just some other details here. You've got the work order number in the top left, the order date, which you can change or manually update. Same with the finish date. So the finish date is the date that the work order was completed. And that's important for inFlow to when the finished product gets added to your inventory. So that's an important date there. You'll also have the assigned to. This is a newer field in inFlow Cloud. You can assign transactions to different team members if you'd like them to be able to filter out work orders or sales orders, purchase orders to see which ones are assigned to them. So you can also assign the work order to a team member this way. And then finally, the most important part is this component structure here. So this component structure is where you're going to start building your finished products. You can build multiple finished products on one work order, and we'll see how that looks like shortly. So the way that you would start to build your finished product is by right-clicking on the finished product, button here. And you're going to have the option to add finished product. And from here, you're going to go ahead and select the finished product that you'd like to build. So I'm going to go ahead and build my puppy starter kit. You're going to tell inFlow how many of your your finished product you'd like to build. I want to build just one. And then here we go. So we've got our finished product listed out here. The very important part, and this is going to be a visual cue for you, is this hierarchy in the component structure. So you'll have the finished products as the highest level, so that anything that's directly underneath it means that it's a finished product. So for example, here, puppy starter kit comes right after finished product in the hierarchy, and then you can see just below it, you've got its components broken down. So we know that all of these 4 components go into building this puppy starter kit. We can add, as I mentioned, multiple finished products to the same work order if we wanted to track the building of multiple finished products in one work order. We can do that again. It's same steps. You can right-click into finished products and then click add finished product. You can also click on the add button here. So that's another way that you can do it. And so I've got a finished product. It's a computer mouse. It's completely different from the puppy starter kit that I've got going, so that it's really obvious that these are 2 separate finished products. But again, you'll see this hierarchy where you have your finished product at the top with its component items broken down. That's how you know that it's going to be built out in this work order. Another important thing that you can notice is this right side here. You've just got the component structure, but in a table form. So again, it's hierarchy related. So if I clicked into finished products, it's going to show me the 2 finished products that are on the work order itself. So we've got the puppy starter kit and the computer mouse. And then if you start clicking down lower into the hierarchy, it'll start breaking down into the more details. So if I click into puppy starter kit, I'll see all of the component items broken down here. So another thing that you can do from the right side is edit the quantity that you'd like to build of your finished product. So let's say that I now want to build 2 of my finished or of my puppy starter kits. I'm going to go ahead and change the quantity to 2. Okay, bam. So that's been updated, but you'll notice that, I guess unexpectedly, the components of the finished product haven't been updated. So we'd assume that if we're building 2 of these puppy starter kits, we'd need 2 boxes, 6 puppy food samples, 2 teething toys, and 2 plushies. That's obviously not the case here. So you might be wondering why. As I mentioned, the bill of materials is really just a blueprint. It's a recipe. The work order itself can be modified. You can add components that aren't on the bill of materials. You can remove items that aren't on the bill of materials. So the bill of materials really is just helping you. It's just a template so that you're not re-adding the same items over and over again to a work order. So if you do any customization, for example, you can go ahead and add that custom component to the finished product in the work order itself. And that doesn't follow the bill of materials. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So for example, if I wanted to add a component item, so you can add a non-stocked product to the work order. If I'm not mistaken, you can do that. So you can add a service item, for example. Service items aren't, you don't keep stock of those in inFlow. So you can add them, and you can add them through the work order. It would look very similar. I don't actually have, I can make one right now, actually. Let's do, let's just say we have an engraving product here. I'm going to add a new one directly from the work order screen here. So I'm going to click add new. So I've set the item type to service. We're going to do 1, and then bam, there we go. So now it's part of the components that are going to be consumed when I eventually complete this work order. So we'll see it show up here. But I guess going back to that quantity though, so I did change the quantity to 2. And the reason for that is, again, inFlow isn't going to follow the bill of materials unless you tell it to in the work order. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this engraving just to make things really clear. So we're back to our original bill of materials, well, almost. But what you can do is you can tell inFlow to recalculate the required components in according to the bill of materials. So if I want to build 2 this time, I'm going to go ahead and click recalculate required components, and there we go. So now we have the required components based off of our bill of materials to build 2 of my puppy starter kit. So whenever you're changing the quantity of the item or updating the quantity of the item, the finished product you'd like to build in the work order, you have to click this recalculate required components to have inFlow tell you based off of the bill of materials how many of each component you need to build.
Awesome. Danny, and can you, sorry, Liz just came back, and also Ryan, I see your question. We'll get to it. Liz was the one who asked originally about adding a non-stocked item.
Oh,
so, or sorry, something that was not stocked. So she just replied, she is using the other and non-stocked item. So do we need to change it to be service then for it to work? I don't know if that's true, but maybe we can try adding a component that's one of the other categories.
Yeah, let's try that. So I'm going to try and add a non-stocked product. Let's say that it's a box, or a different type of box. We'll call it box 2. We're going to change the item type to non-stock. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating a brand new product that doesn't currently exist in inFlow. The way that you can see this is that I've got this add new button. So I immediately know that this product doesn't exist in inFlow yet. I've changed the item type or set it to non-stocked. So let's see what happens. So it should just add it just regular, just like that. So you'll be able to add items, whether they're non-stocked or service. It depends. Service items are usually items that are like labor costs, engravings, something that you don't necessarily keep track of, or you can't keep track of in terms of stock levels, but it gets a little bit more complicated. I would maybe we can send you some more information about what service type items are and how they play into the cost of your finished products, or even sales orders as well. The cost of service items gets distributed. Not to make things too complicated, it does distribute across your products that are on a sales order, for example. So there are some extra, I guess, characteristics of service items that probably are best to send over your way. So if you wanted to leave your email there, we can follow up.
I've also just shared our KB article as well that goes through the different item type options, so you can check that out as well. And then also, actually, Robert also just popped this chat in. They use Nonstock and to add in a service, and that allows them to create a purchase order automatically for that additional component of the bill of materials. So
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a nifty trick.
That's really cool. Yeah, and we'll go into too. I hope you guys noticed that red exclamation mark next to the box, because I know you guys know I have 0 in stock of that. So we'll go into shortly how we can actually order that directly from the bill of materials. Sorry, the work order screen. So just to make things consistent, I'm going to go ahead and remove this computer mouse. We don't need it. There we go. So we're back to our puppy starter kit. Okay, so right now we are missing a component in order to finish building this. And if I try to finish building this without the required components, we're going to get an error. You'll see that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and I'm going to click complete order. Okay, so we do have an error message. There's not enough stock for part box to complete this work order. So one big distinction between work orders and sales orders, if you've had the chance to experience this, is that work orders do not allow negative inventory. So it doesn't allow you to go into negative inventory, whereas sales orders do. It's just a feature of inFlow where sales orders will allow you to sell more than what you have in stock. Work orders don't work that way because you physically need to be moving those products from your warehouse shelves to that finished product. So you do have to have enough in stock. And so inFlow makes it really easy, or it tries to make things really smooth and prevent or minimize the amount of clicking you have to do between screens. So what you can actually do from the work order screen is generate a purchase order for the components that you don't have enough in stock of. So I don't have enough in stock of the box, so I'm going to go ahead and right click on it. So any component that has that red exclamation mark, and I can create purchase order. So that's going to automatically generate a purchase order for the amount of components I need to finish that work order. So I've got 2 here. I'm going to go ahead and just order enough to be safe. I'll have 10. And of course, if you have your reorder points set up, inFlow will create a purchase order for enough of that component to get back above the reorder point. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and just receive this purchase order. So as we know, when you receive purchase orders, that inventory gets added to stock. I'm going to add my vendor, and I'm going to go ahead and fulfill this purchase order and pay it. All right. So that means that we've received this item, so we should now have enough of the box in stock. So if we return back to our work order, okay, so that red exclamation mark is gone. That means we can go ahead and complete the work order. And the way that you can do that is simply the most easiest way is to click complete work order here. That's the way that you would do it if you didn't want to partially fulfill the work order, for example. But if you are completing the work order in stages, let's say, or you're picking, you've got thousands of items to pick and you do this over several sessions, you're going to use the pick tab instead. So similar to a sales order where you're picking inventory to ship to your customer, you're going to be picking the work order, the components in the work order here in this pick tab. So you can click either the autofill, and inFlow is just going to add all of the components to the tab automatically. But if you have thousands of them, this is probably not the way to go if you're doing it in piecewise. So you can go ahead and just add whatever products or components that you've picked so far, and you'll notice that the status of the work order is going to be in progress. So if I were to save this work order and leave it until tomorrow, let's say, I could use the status to filter out any work orders that are currently in progress. So when I'm ready, I can add the rest of my components to the pick tab, just to say that I've removed them from my shelves and added them to the finished product. So it's at this stage that inFlow will actually deduct the components from stock. So it's when you pick them off of the shelf. So in the same way, the chef will take an egg out of the fridge. So you're removing it and you're adding it to the finished product. And then finally, when I'm done assembling the components, I can put away the finished product, so my puppy starter kit, in the put away tab. And this is more, this will be more helpful if you have multiple finished products on the same work order. You could be putting them away partially, for example, so you're keeping track of which finished products you've completed on that same work order. So one important thing, so I'm going to actually take this off the put away tab, and I'm also going to go ahead and just remove the components from the pick tab, as though we haven't at all finished this work order. I'm going to go ahead and open our puppy starter kit just for the sake of presentation. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So you'll notice I've got 0 in stock. I also have the cost. The cost is set to $0. So this is another big question that we get from users, is they'll get in touch with us and say, hey, my finished product doesn't have a cost associated with it, but the bill of materials shows that there's a cost of $6.25. So the reason for this is that inFlow isn't going to update this cost field until you actually build that finished product. And the reason for that, again, is the components that go into the work order, or the finished product, can be modified at the work order stage. So they might not look exactly like this bill of materials. And so the cost of the actual finished product might not be this cost here. This is just an estimate. So again, really important point is the bill of materials is really just an estimate. It's really just a blueprint. The work order does the work. So once we actually complete this work order, we'll see that the cost does get updated. So let's go ahead and do that. So the moment I click complete work order, inFlow is going to consume the components, and it's going to add the finished product to stock. So if we go back to that finished product of ours, I'm just going to refresh real quick. There we go. Okay. So the cost, as you saw, it's $6.25 now. So that's been updated, and that's based on the cost of the components that went in. And then we can see that the quantity is 2 now. So we've added that finished product to stock. And if we go to box, we know that we had 10 in stock because I just ordered 10. We now have 8. So that's just to show that the components get consumed and the finished product gets added to inventory, along with the cost gets updated. Of course, cost depends on your costing method selected, but if you have moving average, FIFO or LIFO, you'll have the cost updated once you build that finished product.
So just a quick pause for some questions here. We have Rosemary. I think you've already answered this, but just for clarification. So in the sales order, when you use the pick tab, does it remove parts from the inventory?
That's a great question. So sorry, was it the sales order?
For sales order, yeah. So I think because we talked about the work order, confirm.
Yes. That's a big, that's usually a really popular, a question that we often get asked is, how do finished products work in terms of sales orders? So the sales order cannot build the finished product for you. So if I go into a sales order and add, and we'll see this later on, but if I put in computer mouse, for example, so we know computer mouse is one of my finished products, you'll see that there's a red exclamation mark. I don't have enough in stock to fulfill this order. And even if I did, inFlow isn't going to just remove the components from it that go into the computer mouse. It's really taking it as a completed item. So you have to use the work order in order to build the product first so that you have it in stock. And then you'll be able to sell that product from the sales order. So that's so
Okay.
yes, it's not automatic in that way where if you add a finished product to a sales order, it's going to build it out for you. Instead, it's going to look to see if you have enough of that finished product in stock. That's all it cares about is the finished product stock levels. It's not going to build it.
So Rosemary, let us know if that's the question you had in mind. I think maybe the question was just in general, not with work orders, using the pick tab on a sales order does the same
Oh, yes.
action as a work order, where once you do pick, that's when it takes it out of the inventory.
Sorry, that's correct. Exactly. There we go. Sorry, that was a lot easier to answer. Yes.
Perfect. I think that's very helpful info too, though.
Okay.
Okay, so just really quickly, just because of time, we do have a few more questions. I did say we'll get back to Ryan's. When you were talking about the location for your work order, Ryan asked a question. I don't know if this is only related to work orders, but he asked, just trying to pull it up here. Okay, I think, trying to pull up the exact question, but I believe what he was saying was that he's been using location kind of like sub-locations. Mm-hmm. So as like shelves, basically. So pretty much, is he using it the wrong way? So I don't know, Ryan, when you say that, if you mean for this instance, if it's better to use sub-locations. But I believe, okay, yes, I have locations for every shelf, not doing sub-locations. Is that location field intended more for different buildings or areas rather than a per shelf location?
That's a great question. And actually, I should have mentioned that. But if you do have, so the location is going to be where it's, and just like that little thumbnail says, it's where it's usually going to be picked from. You can further specify where you'd like inFlow to pick from, but I believe what's going to happen is if you don't have a specific product available in the location that you've selected here, inFlow will pull from the next available location. But to be super safe, you'll want to go into the pick tab and then select the location, or tell inFlow the exact location where you'd like that particular item to be picked from. So if you've got several items that get picked from different locations, you'll want to be specifying that in the pick tab. So your pick tab is what's going to override this order level location field.
And just to plug as well, we are changing the way locations and sub-locations work with a huge new feature release that will allow you to reorder stock based on different locations. So that's coming out soon, and it might actually affect the way that you might use locations and sub-locations. So we are having a Facebook Live to talk about that feature and its implications on Thursday. You'll probably get another email blast for us, so apologies that comes in. But Ryan, and for everybody else watching, that might be something really useful to also look into, because we will actually dig deep on locations and what that means for how you use locations. So just a quick plug there.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, and we have, sorry, I know we're still getting to some exciting stuff, but just really quickly, Robert mentioned as well something really important to note, that sometimes the system won't let you complete a work order if the receive date is not before the finish date. So yes. Yeah, so that's one thing to note.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be this finish date here. So it's really, oh, you can't see it. 1 second. Let me get that out of the way. Aha. All right. There we go. We're all over the place today, Tameem. In terms of our thumbnails. It's great. We've got the finish date here. So this is going to be the date that inFlow is going to be adding that finished product to inventory. So let's say that you have a purchase order that you are awaiting to receive some of your components for that work order. It wouldn't make sense if the finish date was set to before you actually receive those items in stock, because you won't actually be able to complete this work order. So inFlow is going to tell you that. So it's not going to allow you to finish a product that you don't have enough inventory in. So this finish date is pretty important. So if you are getting an error that's like that, it might then you'll want to check out your finish dates, your receive dates on your purchase orders, do some cross-referencing, but inFlow will do its best to lead you in the right direction. But thank you for pointing that out. That is very important.
And just to piggyback off the location thing we were just talking about, Ryan said he's stuck with on-premise due to how deep they're using on-premise database. So the location updates will not be happening on-premise, so no need to worry. Everything will be working just as is for anybody on the on-premise. So it is a cloud update, just to let everyone know. And we do have one, maybe we can take one more question before moving on. And then I've seen the other one, Basaratid, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, let me know. And Dave, we can hold those for the next pause, but Ryan has one here. So it is a bit of a tricky one, I guess. I've got a product, zippered dust cover, that is multi-tiered. So one department cuts the dust cover material, one department cuts the actual zipper, and the last department joins them together. So how do I split the zipper into its own work order while still being able to pick it when using the zipper? So example, the material, sorry, I'm just reading this out loud, Dan. I don't know if you can see the chat. It might be easier for you to actually read it as well. But example, material gets picked on the main work order. The zipper is created on another work order, and the zipper gets picked from the main work order.
Okay, so I hope I understood that correctly. I'm skimming here, but it sounds like you've got, so the zipper dust cover, it sounds like there's different sub-assemblies within that big work order, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what it sounds like, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into it where I'm going to show you how sub-assemblies work in work orders. And from there, you can actually split sub-assemblies into their respective work orders and assign those to your team members. So you can do that. You can also use that assign to field and inFlow cloud to just reassign to different team members at different stages of the work order, but you'll see how we can actually split work orders based on their sub-assemblies, sorry. It'll make a little bit more sense shortly, but let me know or let us know if it doesn't answer the question, but hopefully in the next little bit it will. You'll get a demo of it. Okay, so I'm just going to switch back to the slides. Okay. All right, so there we go. All right, so now we're into building sub-assemblies. So that was a perfect transition right there. So we've built our finished product using a work order. So now you might be wondering about sub-assemblies. I'm sure that a lot of your your finished products are made up of many different finished products themselves. So you might have, and again, this is a very simplistic example, but just know it can scale. So we have users that have thousands of parts and hundreds of sub-assemblies as part of a single finished product. So this is something you can scale, but to make it super clear, it's going to be a very simple example. So just to be clear, a sub-assembly is a finished product that is also a component of a larger finished product. So that's pretty straightforward. But to make it super straightforward, let's take an example. So we're going to go back to our puppy starter kit, except this time I've got a new product. It's going to be the deluxe puppy starter kit, and it's exactly the same as my previous puppy starter kit, except it's got an extra component in there. It's a raccoon rope toy, and I'm a manufacturer myself. I will manufacture, I'm not actually, but for the story, I will manufacture these raccoon rope toys in-house, and they're made from 3 components: rope, squeaky toy, and raccoon plushie. So just to make this story come to life, here's Pixel one more time. She's really dark, so you can't really see her, but that's one of her favorite toys. It's a raccoon, and if you know Toronto at all, this is our unofficial mascot, and they're everywhere, but they're really cute, so we love them, kind of. But here, just to illustrate this one more time, it's made out of a rope, a squeaky toy, and raccoon plushie. So let's take a look at how that all fits into our larger finished product, our deluxe puppy starter kit. Okay, so I'm just turning back to the screen there for screen sharing, and let's go back to our products and our product details. So just like before, our my raccoon chew toy is a finished product itself, so I have to tell inFlow what the recipe is to build it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've categorized it already. So I've added all of my components and finished product into inFlow. It's called the raccoon rope toy. There we go. All right, so now we have to go back into the bill of materials. So we've already done this before, and we're going to be adding the components that make it up. So let's go ahead and add the raccoon plushie. It's made out of the rope, and it's also made out of the squeaky toy. So again, the cost is there because there's a cost associated with the component item. I'm going to go ahead and save this right now. So that's been saved. So now let's go back to our deluxe puppy kit. So that's our master finished product. So deluxe puppy starter kit. There it is. So let's take a look at the bill of materials for this finished product. So again, so we've got all of the components in it. We've got the raccoon rope toy. There it is. So we'll see that there's no cost associated with it yet. And again, if we remember that, the reason for this is because we've never built this finished product before. So inFlow has no cost to associate it with. So what we can do instead, if you already know what the cost is going to be, you don't have to build it out first. You can just manually update the cost. So if I go to the bill of materials, let's say $285, this product never gets customized, so it's always going to be $285. So I'm going to go ahead and update that cost. And let's take a look. All right, so now it's $285. Let's save that. Okay, so the deluxe puppy starter kit, again, there's no cost associated with it. We haven't built it yet. We have 0 in stock. And then let's go ahead and build that finished product and see what that looks like. I don't think there'll be any surprises here. You see again the finished products and the hierarchies. So we have that right underneath the finished product, we have the deluxe puppy starter kit. So you can immediately tell that this is the highest level finished product. And then right underneath that, we've got the raccoon rope toy. So there is a hierarchy. So we know that this raccoon rope toy is a component of the deluxe puppy starter kit. And because it is itself a finished product, or a sub-assembly in this case, we'll see that the components are listed out right underneath it in that hierarchy, kind of very visual here. And also something I didn't mention before, but you can actually print out your pick lists and some other work order documents. So if you are going and starting to pick this order, for example, you can go ahead and click on print. And you'll have just 3 documents here that you can print out. We've got the work order itself, and it's just going to be printing out the structure that you see there. So you've got the deluxe puppy kit, and there is that hierarchy that you see there. And then you can also print out the pick lists, and the pick list is going to just include all of the components that need to be picked for that order. And then you've got the put away list as well, which is going to include that finished product. So again, very simple, just like before. We have that pick tab, so we can go ahead and pick the components. So let's go ahead and autofill. So let's say we've picked up all of our components that go into building that finished product, including the raccoon toy. So all of the components that are required for that raccoon toy are going to be listed out here. What you'll notice is that the raccoon toy itself, that finished product, the raccoon rope toy, isn't listed here because it itself is a finished product. So that's not going to be listed here. And then once we're ready to put away the finished products, we're going to go into the put away tab, and let's click on autofill. Okay, so here's something that's probably a little unexpected is we only have one finished product here. We have the deluxe puppy starter kit. And maybe this isn't unexpected, but you know, you might expect there to be both the deluxe puppy starter kit and the raccoon rope toy, since that one's also getting built out in this finished product or in this work order. But the reason it's not built out here is if we go back to the work order, we'll notice that the raccoon rope toy itself is a component. So if we actually just minimize that here and make them a little bit more clear, is a component of this deluxe puppy starter kit. So the moment that inFlow builds it out, it will immediately get consumed to build out the higher level product. So it really never gets back onto the shelves at all. It's always getting assembled right on the assembly floor, and it never goes back. It's used to immediately it's consumed for the larger deluxe puppy starter kit. So that's why it's not in the put away, because you're never putting it away if you're building it within the same work order. So another thing that was asked was about if you've got several sub-assemblies and different teams take care of the different, I guess, sub-assemblies, you can split sub-assemblies into their own work orders. So let's go ahead and actually do that and see what that looks like. So let's just notice real quick that our work order number is 00002. That's our work order number. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm now going to go ahead and split out our sub-assemblies into its own work order. So this is if you want several teams working on building the sub-assemblies separately. So we'll see here that we need one of these raccoon rope toys to build the deluxe puppy starter kit. So let's go ahead and split it into its own work order by right-clicking onto it. And we're clicking on split raccoon rope toy into new work order. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so we've got a new work order here with just enough to build one raccoon rope toy. And then notice the work order number. The work order number stays the same, so it's 00002, but now there's a dash too. So that's how you can tell whether a work order was split from a different work order. And you can use that dash to work your way back to the master work order. So obviously the master work order is going to have the -1 in it. So if we look over here, we've got 0002-1. So that's going to be our master. And then you can immediately see from the master, if we go back to that raccoon rope toy, we have a little clock icon next to that, that raccoon rope toy. And that means that we have a work order in progress to build it out. So we're just awaiting that work order to be built out. Or if you're purchasing a raw material, for example, in a purchase order and you haven't yet received that raw material, you'll see that clock icon also show up. It's just to tell you that you have some on order already, but you don't have enough to currently complete that work order. But you've already looked into reordering more or building out more. So let's go back to that raccoon rope toy. Sorry, this one here. So again, let's say we've got a team that's working on that, and you can assign that to your different team if you're working in inFlow Cloud. And I believe this is actually only available in inFlow Cloud, where you can split sub-assemblies, I believe. But in any case, the steps are the same. You're going to go through picking and putting away if you want to do it piecewise or in steps, or you can go ahead and click complete order. Okay, perfect. So we've built out this rope toy. And just to show you what happens when you build out a finished product, let's go back to the raccoon rope toy real quick. Let's see, show product details. Okay, so we used to have a cost of 0 associated with it. Now it has a 285. So just to bring that home, inFlow will calculate the cost of the finished product after you've built it. And now we have 1 in stock. So if we go back to the master work order, aha, so now we can actually build it out. We don't get any red exclamation marks. We don't have a clock symbol. We can build this finished product. So one thing you might notice is, but where are the components for this raccoon rope toy? I thought we were building it out. Well, now that you have enough of this finished product in stock, you don't actually need to build it out anymore. Now inFlow is just going to remove the one that you've just built in the previous work order, right? So you have 1 in stock. Why would you build out another one or a new one? So you can go ahead and complete that work order. But you might have situations where you don't want to touch what you have on the shelves already. So let's say you have this raccoon rope toy in stock. You've got, let's say, 10 of them in stock, but a specific customer would like for you to customize and build one new. So the way that you can do that is select the sub-assembly. And just like before, you're going to recalculate required components so that inFlow can pull the recipe from the bill of materials. So let's go ahead and do that. And then bam, we've got the component items again listed out underneath it. So that means whenever you see these components listed out, they're going to get consumed when the work order is completed. So I hope that's clear. So if you don't see components listed out underneath your subassembly, that means that inFlow isn't going to be building one out within that work order. It's just going to use one of the subassemblies that you've already built out before or that you have in stock. So that's something to keep note of.
Perfect. And just Dave had a question earlier. If multiple work orders are not used, then typically a routing would be used. Does inFlow have router capability, i.e. like assigning work centers and people? I'm not sure if what Danny just took us through, like splitting it out into their own, I guess, sub-assemblies, and then you can assign it to different people using the assign to function works for that, Dave. Let us know if that's kind of what you had in mind. If not, we'll take a note of, get more information from you and take a note of that feature so we can follow up with you.
Yes. The other thing that might be helpful here is I believe we've got the Zapier integration up, which means that you'll be able to start making certain automations on your own. So if it isn't possible in inFlow, you might be able to set up a Zapier integration on your end where maybe when the assigned to gets assigned to someone, there's a notification that gets sent out to a specific team via email or something like that. I'm not too sure on that. I'm thinking out loud here, so don't quote me on this, but Zapier does allow you to do certain automations, which you might be able to do in the work order itself. And this is with inFlow Cloud, of course. So keep that in mind. But yeah, let us know if there's a specific workflow that you're looking for, and we can either note that down as a feature request or suggest some workarounds. Yeah,
and just along that lines, Brian just brought an example to life with his zipper about doing sub-assemblies, and he is on-premise. So on-premise does not have that capability. Yeah, this is something that's happening on cloud. So, I mean, if anybody was interested to make that move and have these extra features, let us know. We do offer a really great loyalty discount, but this is definitely something that is a cloud feature. So we do apologize for that, folks.
Yep. The only, I guess, workaround here would be to be using the pick tab in this case. So if specific teams are picking, they'll want to be picking whatever components they themselves are adding to the finished product here. That would probably be the only real way to track how other teams are building or contributing to that finished build.
Yeah, and then the assign to feature as well is something cloud we just released recently as well. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else out there is on premise thinking of switching to cloud for some of these features, and we have a whole bunch of other stuff too with the app is really useful. But if you are, just kind of let us know, drop us a line or email us at support@inflowinventory.com, and we'll try and find a plan that might work for you. You know, if this is something that could be useful for you.
Yep. Cool. So let's go ahead and just complete this work order just to see how the inventory moves. As I mentioned, we had already built out one of these raccoon rope toys. So we have one in stock already. So raccoon rope toy. So just to show that, we have one in stock. So since we have the components here broken down, that means inFlow is going to build a new one as part of this work order. So technically, it's not even touching that one that we have in stock. It's building a new one just for this work order. So let's just show how that happens. So let's go ahead and complete work order. Oh, whoops. So you might get this error if your put away materials don't match the requirements. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So let's just undo all of this because we clearly don't have all of our components in. There we go. And let's complete order. Aha, okay, perfect. So if we go back to the raccoon rope toy, we're still going to have one in stock because we never used this one up. We built a new one and it got consumed immediately. So that's a big distinction and something to look out for when you are building sub-assemblies. Okay, so let's move on to an example workflow. So an example workflow might look something like if you are creating or building products to order. So this might be where the sales orders come into play. So let's take an example where I'm building out puppy starter kits to order. So a specific customer will get in touch with me and it's a customized puppy kit. So I don't have it in stock. I don't carry it usually. So I make it to order. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like in inFlow. So for sales orders, for example, as we know, sales orders are used to sell product to inFlow, to customers, sorry. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do John Doe, and then let's assume or pretend that he's ordered a deluxe puppy kit from me. And it's a custom one. I'll put custom. And let's say he wants to order 5 of them. So I don't have enough of them in stock to actually sell it to him right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a work order directly from the sales order so that I can then sell it once I've built it. So the way that you do that is you right click on that little exclamation mark. And whenever you do see that red exclamation mark, you can usually create an order from it automatically. So you don't have to be clicking into the main menu all the time. So let's go ahead and create work order. And voila, inFlow is going to automatically create this work order for you with all of the components that are required to fulfill that sales order. And of course, I don't have enough of these puppy food samples in order to build 5 of them. So just for this example, I'm going to go ahead and remove this, this component item just so that I can finish this, this work order. So let's go ahead and complete it, so that we're building out enough to sell to this customer. We're going to save. And then if we go back to that sales order, we have enough in stock now. I can go ahead and fulfill that order and ship out my puppy kits. So that's a very simplified workflow, but some way that you can quickly create work orders also from the sales order screen. So there's multiple ways that you can build your finished products in inFlow, or rather create work orders in inFlow. So I hope that helps to show that, show what that looks like. And then finally, in our last kind of last topic for the day is just to talk about reporting. So what reports are available that are manufacturing related. So it's only inFlow Cloud that you can find these manufacturing related reports. There are only 2 at the moment. And the way that you'd get to them is either clicking reports from the home page. You can go to the main menu, click reports, and then go to all reports. And it's going to be under inventory reports. And from here, you'll see that you've got 2 available. It's the work order materials report and the work order finished products report. So let's go ahead and generate both of those just so that you can see what those look like. Okay. And sometimes Crystal Reports takes a while. There we go. Okay. So the work order materials report is just going to show you the components that went into a specific finished product, work order. So you can actually group your report by, to make it more clear, I'm going to group it by work order instead. But you can group it by location. For example, if you want to see which components were pulled from a specific location, you can do that. You can also filter the report by specific products. So if you want to see every work order that a specific product was a part of, you could use this report. But essentially, it's pretty simple. You can hear each work order's components are being generated, and you can see their cost per component, the quantity that was used. So just a very simple report here to show which components went into a work order. And similarly, the work order finished product is going to be the same, except in this case, it's going to be by finished product. So we can do work order again, so we can group by work order. And this will give you some more information like the cost of that finished product. So if you want a list of all of your finished products in your inventory, you can use this report here. And there's a few columns here that you can include as well. Assembled by the location, the completed date, for example. So there's a few things. So this report is pretty simple, but you can get some great information from it. So the cost of your finished product once it's been built, the quantity per work order. So there's a few things you can do. They are a little bit of a simple reports, but if you take a look at those reports and you find that there's something missing, or you'd like a very specific report, reach out to us, let us know. And we always record these feature requests. So it's helpful to know what you guys are looking for. So when we were building out these reports, we really had to kind of think about what would be helpful. And of course, we don't always know what actually goes on for many of our customers, because everyone has such unique workflows. So let us know if there's anything with the reports that we can add or change, and I'll be sure to log that as a feature request. But that pretty much completes our bill of materials and work order webinar. We've gone over the bill of materials and the work orders and now reports. So if there are any questions or final questions or anything I can demo for you guys.
Hey guys, roll in any final questions. We did have one question not related to this. I believe they've left, but we can still answer it while we wait for others to share any final questions. It is about the current stock stream. So this is from Besirat. Sorry if I mispronounced that. You can tell me how to pronounce it next time we chat. Can we print the current stock from the current stock screen to know what we have in stock?
It's a good question. So you can get to your current stock screen if you go to the main menu, inventory, current stock. You can't print from this screen directly, but what you can do is export this table to Excel. So by just right-clicking that table header and then export contents to CSV, and that will export your table to Excel, and from there you can modify the data, or you can print it out from there. Or you can generate a report and you can print it from inFlow there that way, but this is probably more simple.
Perfect. And I believe there was, I thought I saw another one. We have Kim saying thank you. Thanks, Kim. If you're heading out, thank you for joining in. And I thought I saw one more on how to add an expiry date to from an order screen, but I can't seem to find the question anymore. So I don't know if it was redacted.
Oh no. Well, the expiry dates, there's no real way to, there's a workaround to track expiry dates using sublocations, and maybe we can reach out and send it over email to make it more clear. But there is a way to, as a workaround, but now with our improved reordering, it might not be the right choice, but in any case, let us know your email or reach out to the support team, and we can advise you on expiry dates.
Awesome. And yeah, if we could add the print from here, it would be very helpful. Yes, so I've added your name and email address, so if we do come out with that feature, you'll be notified. And Peter, very encouraging words for you, Danny. Thank you, and keep on running.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all the motivation I need. I might take a run after, so thank you.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, anything else? I know we still have a few people in here. Let us know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I guess we'll wait a few minutes. Otherwise, we can end this. And again, we'll send the replay link later.
Sounds good. And yes, thank you guys for joining. I know this is a pretty in-depth, lots of information at once. Webinar. So kudos for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, Rosemary. Some lovely words, parting words. Great. You ready? I think there's no more questions coming in, so I think it's time we can
say adios.
Yes.
All right.
All right, gang. Cool. Have a good week, and try and come out Thursday for the Facebook Live. It's kind of an open forum, so it's not about any specific topic, but we will be also talking a little bit about our new locations feature. And as always, hope to see you guys at the next webinar. I will say the next webinar is a bit late. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be about barcoding, and we just wanted to try a new time so that we can get some other people in, because we know we have a bit of a time zone issues. So hopefully we'll have some, hopefully that gives some flexibility for others to join as well. Thanks. Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you, Con.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you, guys. You're the best inFlow fan. Nicest comment. All right, gang.
Cool. All right.
That's it from us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.